Okay, everyone. Um, let's begin. Today we will go over kind of the structure of the exam. I even have a sample My Open Math exam that you can do now or later. But I just kind of wanted to go through the process of how the exams will work. All right. So really, in order to do these exams, you really need to have a solid internet connection and some kind of computer that you can really see what's going on. I try my best, but cell phones and things like that just aren't going to work. And that was pretty much in the syllabus. Well, we haven't really gone over that yet, right? So I have to go and adjust all the due dates. Okay, so no, homework 6A is not due this Sunday, right? It's basically up to the fives. All right. So the exams, um, basically you'll log into Canvas, right? You'll open up Zoom so that just so that I can help you, right? Please make sure you stay muted. I might have said, listen, that kind of question, please just, that's for later, okay? All right. I need to talk about certain things. If you have questions about homework due dates or things like that, please just email me. I'm gonna have to, I gotta keep going. All right. So you log into Zoom, then you make sure that you're muted, right? Now, if your internet is kind of in and out and you kind of get booted from Zoom, just email me and keep working. Now, I realize that if your internet connection is bad, email's not going to work. But if you email me right away, then I know that there's an issue, even if it's delayed. All right. But when you go to your midterm, all right, it'll be available, at a certain time, and you can work on it during that time. AEC students, you'll start the exam at the normal time, but then your extensions will be automatically programmed into Canvas. All right. Now, right now, if you were to click on that, there's no content. I have to set those up. All right. But there's going to be two assignments that will be very similar in structure to what I have over here. So what you'll see under midterms is midterm 1 mom and midterm 1 upload. Midterm 1 mom, you click on that and the exam will start popping up. The difference being is you'll be able to see your exam all at once. You'll be able to download and print it, which I strongly suggest, especially if you're having, internet is spotty. All right. So you'll do your exam, right? You'll enter in the answers into My Open Math, but you will also, on what I strongly suggest is, on blank pieces of paper, show your work for each question, put your name, your student ID on each page, right? And, write out the question, okay? And then show your work and then enter it in. At the end of the exam, you scan that and you upload that scan for proof of your work. Also, if you're like me, you probably make a typo entering in the answers into my open math, and that way I can make sure that, well, that was just a typo. I can give you full credit. Also, I can evaluate partial credit. And yeah, some questions with the drawing will give you some partial credit, even if you don't put anything there at all, right? But need to see your thought process. And really, it seems the best thing is Adobe Scanner, right? And just using a cell phone to do a PDF that you can upload. Now, the exam has time limits. You have an extra 15 minutes to gather your papers and make a scan and upload it. And it's just a similar process like you've been doing for the homework, all right? But do not use that extra 15 minutes to try to keep writing, right? That is really just to assemble and upload a PDF, a proof of work, okay? I don't know if I said it, but it's 15 minutes, all right? If we look at, or this is, let's go back to 110. So we look at midterm 1. It's due at 4:15, right, which would be the normal due time, but the until is 4:30, okay? And you can't see it until 3 p.m. So that 15 minutes, right, is where you're scanning and uploading your form. Now, it is in there in the green sheet in various places. Do not talk to anybody about this exam until you get an email from me saying it is safe to talk about the exam, all right? Because you don't really know if somebody is still taking that exam or not. And maybe you think you're just hashing out what happened, but you're actually illegally giving help. And the way plagiarism works is the giving or receiving both result in a 0 in the assessment, okay? So the test is not an hour. The test is an hour and 15 minutes, just like normal, a class period, right, with an extra 15 minutes. So what I do is I go, and for the AEC folks, I have a portal, and anybody who's filled it out will appear there, and it'll give me your extended time. And actually, I just click here and start adding names, and I just change the until date to make sure that it fits. So what there are, a question that pops up is, can I use like my iPad or my some kind of tablet that you can write on the screen, where you could download the PDF and kind of draw right on it. But if you want to look like it doesn't really look that good, all right? And sometimes it's hard to scan. I'd show you some examples of bad documentation, but it's got the student's name on it, so that's not It's not good. Questions, there will be 5. Okay, there's 5 questions, and the exam tends to follow the kind of the structure of the sample exams I have in place. But today we have a midterm 1 practice and it's homework. Now, sure, here's the, I'm going to ask you guys to kind of read through the notes before you ask a question like, what chapters are going to be covered, because that is actually in, that information is there. So I'm just going to ask you for things that can be looked up to look up. So if you click on midterm 1 practice, right, this is open and it'll be open to the end of the semester. All right. And you can see all the questions just by clicking, right? Now, sure, if your internet connection is spotty, right, you can make a print version of it.
Professor?
And then try to print, just hold on a second, please. And then if for some reason you can't enter the answers as you go along and you upload everything in time, I'll go and take care of that. But there will be, no matter how solid your internet connection is, something will happen. Okay. I don't want to get out of that. All right. So what was your question?
In the chat.
Where can I find it? Sam, was it where I can find?
Like, where can I find this practice exam that you're
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So I can put it into the module today, but really,
it's under assignments?
It's under assignments.
All right.
Now, sure, if I try to put everything in more than one spot, so just in case, but if you were for the exam, right, I'll have it here and it'll be midterm 1 mom, midterm 1 upload, right? But right here I can put midterm 1 practice. Now it doesn't have 5 questions. There are some questions sometimes that I just can't possibly create in an automatically graded fashion, right? And if that's the case, right in the question, I'll say, you need to write this out and scan it. It won't automatically grade, all right? And some, for example, so if we look at the final exam practice, there was a question like this. When I wrote this question, there was no way I could figure out how to automatically grade it and enter it in. So really, you printed it out. Oh, sure, there's an answer box there, but it wouldn't grade anything, right? It couldn't even really show the answer, right? And so in that case, my open math was really just as an exam generator. And in this question, you draw a circuit, but you can't draw a circuit in here. That's like, so even I'm, how do, well, that's ugly, right? So if you can't really set in an answer, I'll tell you, write in the instructions, all right? Because some things just require too much thinking, or it's an essay type thing that can't be automatically graded. Okay. Now, yeah, it should be in modules now. Yeah, it's in modules now. Yep, it's painful, Alex. I hear you. But what's more painful is discovering that cheating's been going on. And I'll leave it at that. All right. So this whole process, while it's kind of involved, does allow you to take the exam at home. And while a straight take home would be preferred, it, in order to ask those kinds of questions, I would have to kind of redesign the course. Okay. Oh. It's okay, Alex. It's painful regardless. But Alex, I'm sorry. Maybe it was face to face. You would see that I'm smiling. Okay. I don't mean to harass anybody. Okay. Oh, right. I'm really glad you mentioned that, Alex, about the lockdown browser. Um, I you know what? I don't want to go on a rant. How about I not rant about the lockdown browser? But I do have children who are enrolled in college, and the lockdown browser caused a problem during their final exam. And that person, I saw them have a kind of a mental breakdown, you know,
I
my
would
own
be
child. Excuse me.
I would be really interested to hear about that later.
This is pretty much it. They couldn't log into it during a very difficult course, and just the emotion of it just um, I think that's about all I can say, because it is my child. Now the professor took care of it, right? But I really looked into it, and yes, I've read all the lockdown browser things, and then I also read how to get around it, like Google search how to defeat lockdown browsers, and it seems pretty easy, even with watching you, right? So basically, having the exams like this, where pretty much everyone will have a different exam, right? Because that's really what's going on. And it's almost like the last lab in 110L, where you saw the code that would generate the circuit you had to design, right? Um, yeah, everything you guys are saying is true. And it's just one more thing, right? Even if something is at 99% reliability, if you have 10 of those things that have to work, right, that's 0.99. The reliability of the system is now 90%, right? That means 10 people will have a problem, right? So it's just too much of a pain. Zoom. Yeah, I know some places have now switched to WebEx instead of Zoom, but I thought Zoom did fix all that. Okay. But again, um, I'm just, but the thing about Zoom too, right, is I really just want you there, right? Just, it's kind of a shared experience. You can have a background on. Um, I'd prefer if your camera's on, but if you're in a situation where you can't do that, that's okay. Um, I took a karate test on Zoom this summer, and I know what it's like to have my privacy invaded, let's just say. Right, I'm in the middle of a test and my family's running around in the background as I'm trying to do my maneuvers. So I really, really empathize with that. Okay. Okay. So anyway, I think we might have. I said I wasn't going to rant, but I did anyway, and I apologize. So what I thought is I would try to show you kind of how to answer the questions, and then we could go into breakout rooms, and then you can answer the questions. Now, these questions, this assignment has no due date. You can answer it as many times as you want until you get it right. Okay.
Professor,
Yes, ma'am.
question during the exam. If we have like a clarifying question, how are we going to deal with that without distracting other students who's,
I'd say chat me, but then sometimes I don't see it. So what I would say is, no, interrupt and say, Professor, please read the chat. I'm going to put a question there.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Nick. No, not easily. You can't pick people for your rooms. Also, I do like to randomize it so that we're not always with the same folks and that we're learning, really we're making friends, and friends is our secret weapon in doing well in engineering. Okay, so let's, I guess I'll pretend to be we'll do a thing. Okay, so we have a circuit, and here are the components. Hey, Alex, I'm sorry, I'm ignorant. Does +1 mean like that's a like or something?
It means like I agree. +1 vote on that. I agree with that.
Okay, okay.
Like the
All
same
right.
as doing the little up arrow.
I'm sorry, guys. But thank you. Anyway, so you can see everything's in a variable, right? R2, 3, 1, C1. That way, I can put in randomly selected things here. All right. So I can look and see what the gain should be. Now, if R3 is 0, right, that doesn't mean it's disappeared. That means it's a wire, right? And the gain of a non-inverting op amp is 1 plus R3 divided by R2. So if that's 0, it just becomes a gain of 1, right? And so that's an ideal, we assume it's an ideal op amp. And then here we can use voltage division to find our cutoff frequency. And yeah, I would recognize that this is a low pass filter.
Professor.
Yes.
Quick question regarding this circuit. What if R2 is also connected to Vin in this form? What will that be?
All right, so I'm going to use my mouse just to clarify. So if this isn't ground and I just connect it here?
Yeah. Just out of curiosity.
Well, what you're going to get is a negative DC offset on the output. So you would look at it in superposition. So if I had a plus V in here, V out, right, would just be minus R3 divided by R1 times that V in. And then that would be summed with this is going on here.
Okay.
Now, just so you know, that's, that's superposition is more, we're not going to do that. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not, but really, so R2, so let's see, 20. 180. So 1 plus 180 divided by 20. All right, so the gain is 10, right? So it's 10 times the, what's omega naught, right? It's 1 divided by R1 C1, so that's 1 divided by 100 e to 3. 2,000. All right. Now, you can put 2 times 10 raised to the 3, and that's okay. You can put 2,000, and that's okay. But you cannot do 2e to the 3. That will not work. Okay. And you don't really need that parenthesis that I put in there. But if you don't, the 10 and the 2,000 they look funny. But when you put the parentheses there, it looks better. Okay. So that's pretty good, right? Now then, what's the so the time domain step response, right? So I multiply it by 1 over s and take the inverse Laplace. So everything is times ut, right? The gain is 10, I believe. 1 minus exp minus t times 2,000. Okay, right. So now it comes down to the drawing of the Bode plots. All right. So I know I have a gain of 10 and my cutoff frequency is 2,000, right? It's better for low pass, it's better to go from left to right. So the gain is 10, that's 20 dB. Now you don't have to get it like right over there. You can just go here. So 20 dB, cutoff of 2. So that's somewhere in the middle, okay? And then I want to make sure that that was 1 decade, and I went down by 20. I go another decade, and that should be right. And kind of double click that. And then the phase, right, it's 0 up till a 10th. So this is the cutoff frequency is around here. So a 10th of that is here. It goes down to 90 to 100th. And I have a snap to feature, right? And I know it's hard to draw on a log scale when it's not a power of 10, but I actually have the grading set that it can handle that, right? And then here I have to draw the step response. So notice this is on, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 milliseconds, right? 2,000 tau is 0.5. So it's, 0.5 times 10 to the minus 3, right? So it's a step response, nothing happens, then something is happening. Ultimately, it's going to go up to 10 in 5 tau, which is 2.5. All right, so 1 tau is a half, and that goes up about 7.5. And then the next tau is like 8 and something. The next tau is a little bit closer, little, okay. So something, looks like I might have went too far, but let's say I did that, right? So then I submit it. Ooh, I did really well. Oops. I messed up something here, right? Okay, but here's the thing. Like I said, maybe I should have, it's really hard to plot, right? So then I would go look at your uploaded exam where I could see you really meant 2000, not whatever I draw. And then I would go in and I would just change the grade upwards. Although it seems I got the phase right. Okay. And then even though this was a bit off, right? It still counted it. Okay. I believe that video is for another question and I'll have to remove that. Okay. So that's question 1. So yeah, it'll come back. You won't see how you did as you go though. All right. Oh, sorry. Here I just saw a question. No, yeah, don't use E no matter what. E would be a symbol where EXP is a function. I can briefly show you how the code works, but maybe you don't care. Okay. So this is the same thing, except high pass. Okay. Here is now this is a question just straight on Bodie plots, right? It could be second order. The poles will all be real. They might be repeated, right? It might be S plus 10 squared or something like that, right? Now, here's the thing. The gain is 0, and a cutoff frequency at 1,000 and at 10. So it's actually easier to draw backwards. So gain is 0 is 1 is 0 dB, and then at 1,000, right? I go every decade. I go down 20 dB. So the point of interest is 10, right? Now, because when I get below 10, right, it's going to be S squared divided by a constant. And so that's going to be 40 dB per decade, which right, I only went over half, right? But I went down 20 dB. And so it can be somewhat tricky to get that to where that slope is there. But I've got the snap to grid that should evaluate just fine. Now it's second order, high pass. I start at 180, right? The first cutoff frequency is 10, so it's going to stay 180 until a tenth of that. And actually, the way the asymptotic on this one works is because they're exactly the poles are 100, 2 orders of magnitudes apart. I can actually just draw it right here, okay? And then submit. And again, oh, you know, I should have drawn that here, right? But I guess here's the thing, right? So this one's actually wrong, right? I should have come down to 40, right? Here, 40, and then I wanna, okay. But here's the thing. You saw me screw it up right there, but I could tell that you were trying to change it there. And essentially I will check your handwritten work because that would have been really a typo, okay? So here's the thing, right? Right now, I'm just telling you how to navigate these questions, not really telling you how to do it, because I really, oh, you're asking everybody else. Okay. But again, you know, I think you want to start working on your stuff. Okay. So then I submit. And then here, this is just a sample of question that in fact you've seen before on an in-class assignment. But it's more, you get a function, what is it? I'm like, all right, well, I see a ramp and then it flattens at 2, right? So so I'm going to have an RT with a certain, oops, right, with a certain slope. And then I'm going to have another RT with the same slope, but so the slopes cancel out, delayed by 2, right? Now, what's the slope? I went up 100, went over 2. That's a slope of 50. Yes, got it. Okay. Of course, I'll have different ones there. Now, I want to. Now the thing is there will be a question that can't be really automatically graded. Yeah, in general, it's question 3, and in this particular question, you're kind of just answering, what if and things like that. So that kind of question could be there. But there's another one. Oh, that looks familiar. Oh, that looks familiar. Now, yeah, I do it in Python because, I don't know, it looks nicer. But here's a question where I'm asking you to interpret a result, okay? It doesn't lend itself. Or sometimes I'll say, here's the input, here's the output. You tell me the Bodie plot, okay? So it is kind of like tying it all together. Not only that, but sometimes you can then also look at old final exams, of which the first 3 questions will be from the first midterm. All right, so that being said, there's 2 chats. I think I want to. Okay, So I think the time has come. I'm gonna pause recording.